Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Freak Show. I am your host, Cinder Soleil. We got some freaks to exploit. I got some wacky stories, I got some funny stories, I got some lighthearted stories, and yes, I do have some more serious stories. To kick the mood off with something funny, I found this and it made me laugh. I'm gonna share it with you. Korn, I have depression. Linkin Park, I have depression. Slipknot, I'm depressed and angry. Then there's System of a Down.
Terracotta pie, hey, terracotta pie, hey, terracotta pie, hey, terracotta pie.
I don't know how much of that I can play without getting copyrighted. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm not a Linkin Park fan very much. They had a couple of hits that I could jam with. I was just never one who got like too deep into them. But Korn, they're like my number one forever. I love Korn. Slipknot, oh, they're definitely in the top 10. But love fucking Slipknot, especially. Something crazy about Slipknot. Everybody hates on the All Hope Is Gone album, and every time I ask them why, it's the dumbest reason. Like, the band was just so divided when they were making that album. It's just such bad memories. But we're still gonna play Dead Memories and Psychosocial because, A, money, and B, it's catchy. Yeah, it sucks that the band was divided for that album. That's some sad backstory. What does that have to do with the music sounding good? That whole album is a fucking banger. My god. Wherein Lies Continue? That is one of, like, my favorite Slipknot songs. Geometria. All Hope Is Gone, the title track. This Cold Black. They got some fucking bangers on that whole album that literally no one knows about because, well, the band was just so divided and it's just such bad memories. You can feel the bad vibes, the bad aura in the music. Like, if Slipknot never told you that what the conditions behind that album were like, you wouldn't fucking care. You wouldn't know, you wouldn't fucking care. On that same note, older Slipknot is definitely peak. The newer stuff, like Grey Chapter upwards, it's like only singles that I really like. All Out Life is pretty good. The Dying Song, that's all I got. I hate Neo Forte, hate Unsainted. Like all those ones that went hella viral and were blasted on Octane repeatedly, and not a fan. Too soft. I like it when they were just raw and fucking brutal. Oh, but anyway, we're not talking about Slipknot. System. I love System too. They're just fun. System is objectively just fun. I mean, how can you not have fun to stuff like this? It makes me think I should play Hellsinger. I don't know if you guys have seen that video game. I know I'm rambling a lot on this. I can ramble. It's a good thing I decided to start including like chapters and timestamps in the videos in the description, which by the way, you can find timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead. I can talk your ear off about the metal world for hours, the rock and metal world. But it's called Hellsinger. It's one of those beat games, but you're literally working your ways through the levels of hell, and each level of hell and each boss you are just hearing all these brutal deathcore singers, broken up occasionally by Alyssa Whiteclaws and this one punk guy that I wasn't too big a fan of. But after hearing this brutal, growling, gutturally screeching through your ways through hell, the final boss was actually Serge. You're expecting some like monster singer to be the final boss fight soundtrack, right? Maybe Corpse Grinder, right? Maybe Nihilist. Someone with like a monster voice. And then you see the final boss come up and it's just freaking Serge. Da, 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 da. That was something. Anyway, I'll move on. Let's get into the actual stories. Before I spend another... before I spend another 10 minutes just talking about metal. I had to re-record part of this section because frickin' OBS didn't feel like recording. I don't know if I clicked something wrong or otherwise. Same crazy clown, I'm just doing it from off-screen. This is the first news story I want to talk about. And the biggest thing that's been kind of circling the internet the past couple of days is the reclusive OnlyFans billionaire owner, Leonid Radvinsky, died, and even managed to keep his death a secret. OnlyFans owner Leonid Radvinsky was such a secretive recluse that he was dead from cancer for days before the news ever became public Monday, a pal revealed to the Post. Insiders knew Radvinsky had been dealing with health issues for some time, and while his passing is tragic, he left behind a company that was fully prepared and resilient, said Andy Backman, the CEO of Creators Inc., which works closely with adult content creators for the controversial site. Yeah, I work closely with the host. His passing wasn't sudden, so there was a lot of preparation, he added. He passed a few days before the media found out, so there was no interruption to the business. Radvinsky, who died following a long battle with cancer at age 43, made $7.4 billion by making porn mainstream and helping people to post their most private moments on the internet for money. As you will hear in a moment, I have my own thoughts and opinions regarding the porn industry, how it so negatively affects people, but why I don't think bans would be practical, effective, or even safe at this point. But he was so guarded about his own life that there is not only one public photo of him. Isn't that fucking crazy? Considering how massive OnlyFans is, you would think he'd be, like, all over the place. Something, interesting fact about this guy, he was one of the biggest donors. One of the biggest donors. I don't know if he was the biggest. Some say he was, others don't. Others dispute it. One of the biggest donors to fucking APAC. Of course, that got a bunch of conspiracy theorists going. I'll let you draw your own conclusions on that, and I won't get into that. But I will say, I don't like APAC. I really don't. I don't like their influence on our politicians. I don't like these weird, shady mega donors that feel corrupt in some certain ways. But you wouldn't expect that. You wouldn't expect the owner of fucking OnlyFans to be donating to, like, a super conservative, based on, like, religious fundamentals sort of pack or group like APAC is. Just saying, kinda weird. The irony with Leo is that he built one of the most talked about platforms on the internet, but he lived a life that was incredibly quiet and very disciplined and rooted in faith and family. The irony. He really stayed out of the spotlight. Yeah, I'll live a healthy and secretive life by myself, but you peasant girls, you can post your butthole on the internet for all of eternity, abandon faith, abandon family, never get married because no man is going to want a girl with a body count higher than the height of Kilimanjaro. You girls can go ruin your lives. Sophie Rain and other top stars on OnlyFans publicly paid tribute for the millions he helped them make, but they said they had never met or spoken to him. By the way, if you think every girl on OnlyFans is making millions, it's like less than 1%. It is like less than 1% of 1%. It is a tiny amount. It is very few people whatsoever. Most of them usually had like a massive following before. Actually, the average wage that you make from OnlyFans, quote unquote wage, it's much less than a career at McDonald's. Before his death, Radvinsky sequestered himself in a 19,006,000 square foot oceanfront condo at Turnberry Ocean Club, one of Miami's most exclusive addresses. The fortress-like property offers private elevators, 24/7 security, and direct access to parking facilities so outside observers can't see who comes and goes. Jesus. Why do we have this fucking Secret Service level security shit for the fucking creator of OnlyFans? The Ukraine-born businessman is survived by his attorney and philanthropist wife, Yekaterina Kati Chudanovsky, who heads special projects at the Rare Cancer Research Foundation, according to an online bio for her. George Soros has made me think that the word philanthropist is just a red flag. In one of his only known appearances in public, Radvinsky accompanied his wife to a gala for a gastrointestinal research foundation in 2024. There, Chudnovsky announced that a couple had helped support a $23 million grant for cancer research in a speech that appeared to allude to her husband's health battles, according to a Wall Street Journal report. This is something that a lot of people who try to defend this guy, because just because you donate to charity is not like a free ticket to a clean reputation. Just because you donate to charity doesn't excuse you from criticism, alright? It's cool that he donated that much for charity. It's cool that he was such a charitable guy. At the same time, we can call a spade a spade. This guy created a massive industry that has fostered this culture where young women are incentivized to sell their bodies and souls on the internet, and young men become addicted to it. And young men are encouraged to just keep consuming it, to become addicted to it. According to Radvinsky's personal website, he also made philanthropic donations to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, the University of Chicago, and EB Research Partnership, a global organization dedicated to funding research to treat and cure the rare genetic disease epidermolysis bullosa. I probably did not say that right. The group of skin disorders cause extremely fragile skin that can see severe blistering and wounds from minor friction. Wow, that's interesting. I haven't heard of that. Radvinsky, who was raised outside Chicago, acquired OnlyFans' parent company, Phoenix International, in 2018 from British father-son duo Guy and Tim Stokely, who had founded the platform 2 years prior, according to Financial Times. At the time, OnlyFans was little more than a niche site for adult content subscriptions. I was on a roll. God damn it! He transformed the corn industry by offering adult content creators on a platform to reach their audience directly through subscriptions and keep 80% of their revenues. Great. While working as the director and majority shareholder of the company from 2021 through early 2025, Radvinsky paid himself a whopping $1.8 billion in dividends, according to Forbes. His shares in the company have reportedly been held in a trust. He was previously trying to sell his stake in the company for $8 billion, according to reports, though he had trouble finding a bank to broker the deal. I didn't catch that the first time. The banks are like, we don't want this weird degenerate shit, that'll tank our reputation. Oh, he's already hiding, because he doesn't want to be seen as, like, the owner of OnlyFans. I imagine fucking OnlyFans stakes as, like, fucking food stamps. He's on the corner of some ghetto neighborhood, hood up, sunglasses on, like, hey, can you please buy OnlyFans off of me? Please, man. It's on discount. And everybody's like, I'm good, thanks. Oh, man. Phoenix International was in talks last year over a potential acquisition by a group led by Forest Road, an LA-based investment bank and advisory firm, though the potential deals collapsed for unknown reasons. Despite Radvinsky's apparent bashfulness about owning OnlyFans, yeah, that's a one way to put it, it wasn't his first foray into corn. Oh dear. Among his earliest ventures were websites that claimed to offer hacked passwords to corn sites. What the fuck, man? Later, he would register hundreds of domain names, many of them X-rated or referencing celebrities of the early 2000s. In 2004, he launched MyFreeCams, one of the early players in live camming business, a precursor to OnlyFans. Under his ownership, OnlyFans became a global sensation, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, when it added 300,000 users a day. Great. Yeah, they talk about this like this is a fucking good thing. Women were locked inside their homes and told if they went outside they would kill their grandma or they could kill their babies, whatever the fuck the excuse was. And then they got so fucking brain broken and depressed and miserable that they just started selling their body on OnlyFans. Because they're so fucking desperate for some kind of attention like that. Rain thanked Radvinsky for changing her life by allowing her to make $95 million on OnlyFans. I don't even know how to put this in words. That man built something that changed my entire life. Like, I grew up on food stamps, and now I can take care of my whole family because of a platform he created. I will never forget that. Something I have noticed... something I've noticed about this incident since the news broke is that there's a lot of conservatives who are just going like, rest in piss, you degenerate scum, I'm glad he's dead. Ha 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 ha. Which I think across the board, that kind of behavior is fucking gross. And the right will point to the left and say, well, they started it. How about across the board? Just celebrating that kind of shit is gross. Unless it's literally like fucking Epstein being executed by lethal injection. Unless it is literally like an extreme situation like that, I'm not going to be happy about someone dying. If I read the news about a fucking criminal who's trying to grape a lady and the lady shot him dead, I will be happy about that. Glad he's dead. Criminal breaks into an elderly man's home, tries to kill him, man shoots him dead. I'll be glad that he's dead. This guy, he didn't commit a crime. You can call him a degenerate, for sure. But what was his crime? It's not very Christian of you to do that, by the way. Christian conservatives, most of the people who are doing this kind of shit, that's not very Christian. Aren't you supposed to preach forgiveness, repentance? It's all that sort of shit. Just saying. Like, oh my god, that lady is 21? That is just sad. Anyway, just across the board, I don't like that. They're doing the same thing with Robert Mueller. Trump himself made a post like, glad he's dead. Mueller was just doing his job, and you can argue it wasn't a great job. Yeah, he was your political adversary, but like, aren't you the ones that still preach whenever Charlie Kirk comes up? We should not celebrate the death of our political rivals like that. And I can have that kind of energy. I fucking hate Hassan Piker. I think his stances are ridiculous. I hate Denims. I hate fucking, there's a lot of dumb shit Destiny says. There's a lot of shit that I disagree with the Young Turks hosts on. I still watch the Young Turks. Again, I disagree with a lot of what they say. I still watch them if nothing else, just to step out of the echo chamber for a little while. If any of those people that I disagree with were to die, even if I perceive them to be like, oh my god, terrible people, oh my god, I still want to celebrate their fucking deaths. Again, what's their crime? They disagree with me. So what? I hate that sort of mentality. And I get the frustration. I get why it's so easy to be like, they do it to us, why am I going to give them any sort of sympathy? You can still call it out as bad. Well, because they kicked my puppy, I'm going to kick their puppy. No, that doesn't make fucking sense. I'm not going to laugh or sneer or be like, haha, I'm glad he's dead at this guy. Even he was not proud of what he owned here, okay? Just because he donated to charity, just because he was aware that, oh, it's kind of taboo to be owning this kind of company, that does not absolve you of criticism. And the fact that he made the platform or boosted the platform is only half of it. It's the women who actually decided to actually sell their bodies on the internet. Just saying. Split accountability here. And yes, if fucking Sophie Rain died tomorrow, God forbid, I would not laugh at her death just because she's a hoe. That'd be sad. I feel sorry for this girl more than anything, honestly. 21 years old and 95 million on OnlyFans. That is some predatory... She does not look 21, honestly. No offense to you, Sophie. I doubt you'd ever see this. But... we can call a spade a spade. We can call this shit degenerate. Again, I don't think a ban... I do think a flat-out ban is overreach, just coming at this from a libertarian standpoint, and I don't think, more importantly, that it'd be practical or effective or even safe. Just like abortions, just like drugs, just like alcohol, people are going to take this market underground. I disagree with like the total anarchist or total 100% libertarian position where it'd be like, no regulations on anything whatsoever. At the same time, flat-out bans are ineffective and pose a danger. An equal amount of danger, arguably, because the market is going underground. It's not going to stop people from getting them. You can argue it's going to reduce the number. And funnily enough, the conservatives will say that about abortion and drugs and all that. Well, if less people do drugs, if less people get abortions, if less people do corn, that's worth it. Even if it's just one person. Even if it's just one person who doesn't fall down the rabbit hole of making corn, it's worth it. And then funnily enough, you apply that to gun laws, and suddenly they're like, well, it's the natural risk of having guns in society. Yes, we can have common sense rules in place, we can have some basics in place, but at the same time, blah, 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 blah. All sorts of mental gymnastics to read, short of, like, obviously pointing to the Constitution. That's the only reasonable defense. But all this sort of absolute mental gymnastics to argue why flat-out bans on corn, on alcohol, on weed, why that makes sense, because even if it's just one person, even if it just saves one person, it's worth it. But why the same rule with gun laws? It's totally ineffective, it's totally impractical, that will never work. No. By the way, that's why it's good to be libertarian. Because you can apply this rule across the board and not be retarded about it. But obviously, even if bans would not work, even if bans would have a negative impact in and of themselves, even if I'm not a proponent of full-out bans on the corn industry, we can still call a spade a spade. We can show the negatives that this industry brings to people. We can show how this negatively impacts society. We can show how this negatively impacts young women. We can show how men become absolutely corn sick and relationships suffer and impotence rises. Families get destroyed. Yes, there are negatives to that, just like with alcohol and drugs and every other sort of controlled substance in the world. Just like accidents happen with firearms, just like even like things that aren't restricted. Us having access to cars leads to motor vehicle incidents all the time that can destroy lives. Having anything in society will come with positives and negatives. And it's not crazy to talk about the negatives. And people can argue, well, what's the positives of corn? What's the positives of alcohol? What's the positives of marijuana? Marijuana actually has more positives than pretty much anything here, actually. But just saying, so what? People want to do it. People want to do it. People want to consume it. So what? Would you rather them do it in a regulated, legal environment or take it underground and potentially have it be a lot worse? And the other problem with like flat out bans, by the way, is it's like this isn't just a legislation thing. The problem is not that it's legal. This is a societal thing. And you can't always cure like societal problems, cultural problems with legislation. Like there's a reason we divide like culture and politics. You cannot always solve a cultural problem with politics and vice versa. Just saying, sign a bill tomorrow, make OnlyFans illegal, there's still women who are going to have this kind of mindset. There's still women who are going to be pressured into this industry, mostly by other women, but yes, by pimps too. This is an industry. Like it or not, and this industry can either be legal and regulated, or it can go underground. We have enough of a problem with this industry and the underground faction of it, and how evil that is. You're incentivizing it to grow stronger by banning it on the surface level. You think Sophie Rain, after making $95 million on this platform, is just going to want to give it up just because Donald Trump said, hey, this is illegal now? Sorry, my voice broke there. Ugh. Oh my god. Congestion! You think Sophie Rain here, after making $95 million in this industry, is going to want to stop it just because Donald Trump signed a bill that said it was illegal? Just because her state signed a bill that said it was illegal? No. Something tells me she's going to pursue it. It's just going to be underground. It's going to be in an environment where it is more dangerous, where there are less protections, and where if something terrible were to happen to her because of that industry, because it is a high risk, God forbid, she would be seen as the criminal in that situation, and I think that's terrible. So as I was saying, you can't always cure these cultural problems with legislation. You need a backswing. It's not like culture and politics are 100% disconnected. One can influence the other, but when the culture is sick, it takes a cultural backswing. It takes a cultural counterforce to combat that sickness, not just signing a bunch of bills. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Let me know what you think. I found this and I thought it was funny. I thought we could go through them together, because some of these made me laugh. Bear in mind as we go through these, in a country where people can be let out on bond after raping a 12-year-old girl and shoving rocks in her mouth, while that's going on, we have this. No justice for Epstein survivors, no justice after Diddy, all this shit in the world. And, but people were getting arrested for this. I know the way I phrase that makes it sound depressing, but a lot of these are actually funny, so let's laugh at them. Accidentally texted his probation officer about weed. Imagine being that officer, getting that text, you're just like, are you this fucking stupid? Broke into homes to say he respected women. A Missouri man broke into multiple women's homes, allegedly to tell them he respected them for International Women's Day. The intention, if sincere, did not outweigh the method. It is hard to pitch courtesy as a defense to burglary. Do you think that was the actual reason he was breaking into homes? This sounds like he got some kind of woke judge or something. So at the last minute, he just thought, no, I was breaking in. I was not going to rape them. I was not going to murder them. I was not stalking them. I wanted to tell them that I respected them. I respect women, sir. Happy International Women's Day. The sad part is that they're seeing some of the people that judges in cities in America have let go. That would probably work on some judge somewhere. Oh my god. How absolutely insane. There's no way. There's no way that was the actual reason he was breaking into the homes. He is either schizophrenic and captured by the left somehow, and those two things just mesh together in his brain in just the right way to make this delusion a reality, to make this idea sound good in his head somehow. Or this is literally just an excuse he gave, hoping that the judge would be woke and feminist or something. Assault with a deadly chicken. A story describes someone getting arrested after throwing a piece of fried chicken at a spouse during an argument. It was remembered as assault with a deadly chicken, even if the phrase is clearly joking. The arrest was real. Oh my god. Look out, guys, I have a high chew here. If I throw this at somebody, I could get arrested. If I throw this high chew at somebody, that is an assault. I see that a lot on the internet where like people will be like, hey, he threw this piece of gum at me, he threw this gum wrapper at me, that's assault. Especially when it comes to like politics and aggravators of politics. I don't think you should throw things at people, generally speaking. We live in a polite society. At the same time, watching somebody get thrown to the ground and shoved in a cop car because they threw a gum wrapper at somebody, just some of the scenarios like that are fucking insane. It's one thing if it's like a drink because you don't know what's in that drink. It could be laced with something. That's dangerous. But you throw like a chicken bone, you throw like a piece of gum or gum wrapper, you throw, I don't know, a little candy at him. You consider that assault. Technically speaking, he is inflicting something upon your person, so yeah, that technically on the books it's assault, but at the same time, what the fuck, man? I don't know, sometimes I look at those kinds of situations, and I'm like, somebody actually got arrested for this. There's so much work, there's so much better reasons you could actually arrest somebody that they never get arrested for. Arrested after keeping a deer inside a home. Oh boy. West Virginia describes an arrest after someone kept a deer in their home. The story lands in that weird space between pet and wildlife violation. The legality of keeping a deer, period, is so varied depending on the state, because I've looked into this. Some states consider them just purely wildlife, so unless you're a rescuer or like a rehabilitator, you cannot legally own a deer by any means. Some states are like, you can own a deer, but it has to be a rescue or raised in captivity. You can't obviously take it in for a while. That makes sense. And then some, I think like a couple states consider them like pets. You can have them as pets. Probably Florida. Florida has some of the loosest pet laws in the country. But the other thing that they can be considered is livestock for like venison and stuff. I think our state considers them livestock. So I have actually looked into like, Mom, can we get a deer? Can we get a couple deer? So far, no dice. But I think that would be adorable and fun and cool. I would not raise them for venison. But still. I love deer. They're so cute. Look, how can you not love this little guy? Look at him. The only thing that drives me insane about these kinds of wildlife laws and like, hey, you can't keep this animal as a pet, is like when it comes to like what they do with the animal if they catch you owning it. Like the squirrel and the raccoon in that one state, it was illegal to own a squirrel and a raccoon. And instead of being like, okay, just give them to like a sanctuary, give them to a rehabilitator, etc. Or at the very least, just do it and get your license, and then you can have them back or something. Because I'm pretty sure the animals were raised in captivity, so they wouldn't be eligible to be released or something. You get what I mean. Most of the time, the animals get euthanized. And that's so fucking... that's disgusting to me. I hate that. That's so retarded. What the fuck, man? Bring the animals to someone who can take care of them. Let the guy get his thing done. Let him have him back. Something. I remember this, because ferrets are still illegal in California. So are a lot of animals. Like, California's got some ridiculous pet laws. You can't have hedgehogs, you can't have sugar gliders, you can't have, gerbils, you can't have ferrets, you can't have axolotls, which what the fuck's an axolotl gonna do? And the reason's always ridiculous, too. Because ferrets are still illegal in California, but people bring them in from Nevada all the time, or Oregon, or they move to California not realizing the law is in place because who the fuck would expect that kind of law? So they bring the ferrets in, they get caught with the ferret, some Karen in the HOA reports them, or a cop sees them buying ferret supplies at the local PetSmart or something. Somehow, someway, a petty girlfriend reports your ferrets after a breakup or something. Some way, Fish and Game, police, etc. figure out you have a ferret. Most of the time, they will euthanize the ferret. They used to do it right on the spot. So there's some judges, if you get a really nice judge, who'll be like, okay, just get him out of the state immediately, give him to a relative out of state, or give him to a rescue pet store, something out of state. But you need a really nice judge to do that and you still get fined. It's ridiculous. Arrested for stealing 5 pounds of baby powder. Diddy 2.0, he moved on from oil. Taken in over an overdue library book? One person said they were arrested because of an overdue library book that was a few weeks late. It is a case where bureaucracy and enforcement collided in the least cinematic way possible. I'm trying to determine on a scale of 1 to 10 how ridiculous this is. 10. Arrested for shoplifting Scooby-Doo on DVD. Okay, at least that's shoplifting. That is, technically speaking, a crime. I mean, technically this is stealing in a way, but I don't know. This is so stupid. Climbed a microwave tower and got betrayed by pigeons? What? A Reddit story claims 2 friends climbed a tower and would have gotten away with it, except they startled a flock of pigeons. The birds allegedly caused a loud, messy reaction that drew security attention and led to an arrest. Why? What was the point of this? Arrested after tipping over a porta potty with someone inside. Okay, that is disgusting. You can argue the legality of that, but that is disgusting. Tried to bribe an undercover officer with Sprite and chicken Alfredo. Why that? Okay. If someone you knew was in trouble with you and you were mad at them, and they gave you Sprite and chicken Alfredo, would that work on you? Genuinely, would that work on you? Better yet, if you were an officer and one of your probationees, I don't know, whatever, one of the people that was on probation and you were their probation officer, what would it take? Just speaking food and drink wise, what would it take to bribe you? Arrested for hanging out on a McDonald's playground after hours? Okay. One anecdote describes teens jumping a fence to use a McDonald's playground around midnight. What felt like harmless nostalgia was treated as criminal mischief, and parents got the call. Nothing kills childhood magic like a ride home from the station. That's kind of stupid. A bunch of teens hop a fence. I'm guessing this one in the story is outdoor. If they can just hop a fence and get inside, this one's clearly indoors. You hop a fence to hang out in a child's play place at fucking McDonald's. How? And they're a bunch of teens, and you arrest them for that. Is the arrest really necessary? My brothers did dumb shit like that all the time. They never got arrested for it. That's retarded. Arrested for throwing a biscuit really hard at someone's face. A Tennessee report summary describes an arrest after someone allegedly threw a biscuit at an ex-girlfriend's face. The phrase really hard is doing a lot of work here. I like how they needed to clarify. Well, he threw a biscuit, but it was really hard. Does that make it better or what? Does that make it worse? Does it make it better or worse? How hard would you need to throw a biscuit to make it actually hurt someone? God, you could get fucking Dave Bautista or Joe Rogan or someone to throw a fucking biscuit at me. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't hurt because it's a fucking biscuit. If anything, it's just going to crumble before... It's going to crumble before it can leave any sort of impact. It's so stupid. Jailed after paddling toward Canada on a Walmart air mattress. I mean, that is illegal immigration. You're trying to paddle to Canada on a fucking mattress. You ought to be arrested by the Canadian authorities. The main headline describes someone getting jailed after attempting to paddle to Canada using a Walmart air mattress. Oh boy. Arrested after a getaway truck got stuck in a pile of manure. How does that happen? A Minnesota headline describes a getaway vehicle getting stuck in manure. How does that happen? Do you not see the giant pile of shit in front of you? Accused of trafficking thousands of turtles. Not the turtles. Oh my god, that's just cruel. Like, look why they're taped like that. That's just mean. But also, why? Is there much of a market for turtles? Isn't there like some kind of a soup that's made with turtle shell or something? That's like illegal because it's inhumane or something in the States? I want to say that's like a thing. Like, it's legal to sell turtle shell or something, so maybe there's a weird niche market for this. I don't know, man. Someone led deputies on a moped chase with a kitten on board. That's just mean. That's not funny, that's mean. He reportedly had a kitten, drugs, and weapons. What a combo. The combination is so chaotic it sounds like a dare. That cat is terrified. The cat's terrified. What do you mean funny? Rolled down drunk hill straight into a police car. A friend reportedly got so intoxicated that he literally rolled down a hill known for exactly that. The tumble ended when he collided with a police car, turning slapstick into a trip to the drunk tank. Gravity did the tackling, and cops finished the play. Arrested for exercising in his birthday suit at a gym. Yeah, that's a problem. A traffic cone theft that escalated off a bridge. According to a story shared online, the officer initially just wanted the traffic cone returned. Instead, the cone got launched off a bridge, and the situation escalated into an arrest and house arrest time. It is a masterclass in turning a warning into paperwork. So, the way this is worded, the guy hucked a traffic cone off a bridge. That's it. Okay. Found undressed in a yard and claimed he might be Jesus. Oh, someone took some substances, didn't he? A headline describes an Indiana man arrested in Kentucky after being found with nothing on a stranger's yard, declaring he might be Jesus. What the hell, man? How do you wind up in this position? Buck naked and thinking you're Jeebus himself. What the hell, man? Don't do drugs, kids. Sentenced after stealing a TV remote. I mean, that is theft. Why would you steal a TV remote? At the same time, why would you press charges over that? That's weird. That's just weird. Threw a tater tot at a construction worker. In one account, a passenger tossed a tater tot out of a car window at a construction worker. Police later showed up at the driver's home, turning cafeteria humor into a legal problem. Few people expect a potato to be a gateway to consequences. This guy's a massive asshole for throwing things at construction workers unwarranted. Does it really deserve an arrest? Remember what I was saying? It's like, drinks are one thing, anything where you could like hide like some kind of a dangerous substance in, that's one thing. Throwing like fucking gum wrappers, throwing bits of candy or something, throwing a tater tot. That's something that's already questionable if you need to arrest them like on the spot. You really need to hunt them down and arrest them in their house? The guy's an asshole. Is that really necessary? I don't know, man. I don't know. Caught after liking his own mugshot on a Crime Stoppers page. What the fuck, man? Ferdinand Levi Charles, 23-year-old white male, 5'11", 160 pounds, I'm guessing, blonde hair, blue eyes, wanted on forgery, common scheme, felony, total bond, $2,500. Liked by Levi Charles Ferdinand. Oh my god, how stupid. Brought weed to the courthouse metal detector. Oh man. Oh man, I almost went into a courthouse while I was carrying. I have like a tiny derringer that I keep in my bag. And I almost went to a courthouse with it. I was like at the door, I'm like, oh fuck. I like just remembered it. I carry that thing so much. I genuinely like, it's just instinct. I am in a state where carrying is so fucking normal. There are people who will carry in church even though technically it's against the law. Like, it is so fucking normalized. You have no idea how normal it is to carry here. I remembered at last minute, though, I did not bring a gun into a courthouse. Just almost. A Redditor described going to pay a speeding ticket and emptying pockets at the courthouse security checkpoint. The pockets allegedly included a small bag of weed. Which led to an arrest and a lot of laughter. Oh, man. He took his weed, man. Come on. Oh, man. You couldn't just tell him to go leave it in his car. You couldn't tell him. You couldn't just confiscate the weed. You had to arrest him, too. That's just brutal, man. Used a fake ID on the police instead of a real one. Oh my god. In a story about public intoxication, the person reportedly handed officers a fake ID by mistake during the arrest process. The result was a citation tied to the wrong identity and a long-lasting facepalm. If you're going to be forgetful, do not do it with documentation. Yeah, that's important. Oh my god, the picture for this one. Sent escorts to a neighbor's house. A Nebraska headline alleges a person sent an escort to a neighbor's address, leading to an arrest. The prank, if that is what it was, had real-world impact on someone else. When your joke involves strangers and confusion, the law gets involved fast, yeah. Yeah, that one I can see being a massive problem. Arrested after decorating the neighborhood with adult toys. What? Oh my god. Someone has some dark humor if they just put like a freaking doll like that hanging out of a dumpster. Oh my god, from afar, this would... Can you imagine seeing this from afar? That would look so fucking wrong. Oh my god. In one Reddit shared story, a group of teens found what they assumed was trash and started placing the items around the neighborhood. It turned out the box came from a shop and the prank was treated as theft. What kind of prank is that? Hey, I found this box of trash. Let's go through it and precisely position it around the neighborhood as a prank. That's just fucking weird, man. I think they knew exactly what they found and just tried to pull the, I'm just a kid, I don't know what I did. What I did. Yeah, no fucking way, man. Accidentally brought a BB gun to school and triggered a lockdown. Okay, really, guys? A Reddit anecdote describes a student who brought a BB gun to school and then made the worst possible choice, showing it to a friend. The result was a lockdown and police involvement, with I forgot it was there not helping much. As a reminder that context changes everything. Not really. This is pretty clearly a fake gun. Like, it's not that hard to tell. Everybody says, some airsoft guns are so easy to... They look so realistic, oh my god! That just tells me that you've never seen a real gun, and you're not into airsoft. BB guns, like airsoft guns, BB guns, they're very clearly plastic, they're very clearly marked by like red or orange tips. You have to really try to mistake them for a real gun. And especially if you're a teacher. Like, high school, middle school boys, they love these kinds of things. You should probably learn to tell what the hell you're working with. Now, if you want to say, like, hey, BB guns aren't allowed at school, confiscate it. People do the same thing with phones and other forbidden things in school. Just do it like that. Arrested after a van ended up embedded high in a residence. What the hell, man? How does this happen? How did that happen? A Wisconsin item mentions an arrest after a van was found embedded about 15 feet off the ground in a residence. The logistics alone make you pause. When your accident becomes architecture, police tend to show up. Yeah. What the fuck, man? Claimed he traveled from the year 2048 to warn of an alien invasion. Okay. That man was taking something. What do you think it was? Post in the comments, what do you think he's on? Okay. Which of those do you think was the most ridiculous? Let me know. Looping back into a couple more serious stories, slightly more serious, I find this interesting. I found this circulating on X and had to investigate if this was true, or X being X. Lab-grown meat's carbon footprint potentially worse than retail beef. Study finds scaling up production using existing processes highly energy intensive. I remember this about the vegan argument. Like, if the whole world went vegan, our environment would be great. Actually, the kind of infrastructure you would need to support everybody on a vegan diet, that would be so much more environmentally negative than cows. No matter how much you want to say, cows are bad for the environment, they produce methane. No, it's not nearly as bad as producing the amount of agriculture that would be needed to feasibly sustain an entire vegan population. Like, if the entire population went vegan, or even if just like half of it went vegan, that would still be absolutely insane. I should also clarify. It'd be crazy to produce that amount of vegan foods to a point where all those vegans could survive, which is already pretty fucking hard on a vegan diet, just saying. Lab-grown meat, which is cultured from animal cells, is often thought to be more environmentally friendly than beef because it's predicted to need less land, water, and greenhouse gases than raising cattle. But in a preprint, not yet peer-reviewed, researchers at the University of California, Davis. So this is a university in California. So it's not... This is a pretty fucking liberal leftist university. These are the kinds of people who would be all about this kind of shit. This isn't some place in Texas that's paid by some Republican PAC or something trying to be like, hey, we argue this. No, this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. Have found that lab-grown or cultivated meat's environmental impact is likely to be orders of magnitude higher than retail beef based on current near-term production methods. Researchers conducted a life cycle assessment of the energy needed and greenhouse gases emitted in all stages of production and compared that with beef. One of the current challenges with lab-grown meat is the use of highly refined or purified growth media, the ingredients needed to help animal cells multiply. Man. Anybody else find it kind of dystopian and disturbing how we're just talking about, like, casually making meat in a lab? Like just taking animal cells, telling them to multiply until they form some amalgamation that loosely resembles 3D printed chicken breast, as the Campbell CEO would put it. Yeah, it feels weird, it feels gross. I'm really not a fan of the lab-grown meat stuff. It feels gross. It feels wrong. But keep listening to the people who will tell the peasants, no, this is so good for you, this is so good for the environment. You need to eat the 3D printed meat, so we can eat the good stuff when it becomes in short supply, because Bill Gates and China are buying up our farmland. Like, what the fuck, man? Currently, this method is similar to the biotechnology used to make pharmaceuticals. Again, anyone find it strange that we talk about producing meat in the same way we produce drugs? This sets up a critical question for cultured meat production. Is it a pharmaceutical product or a food product? If you have to ask that question, that feels like a problem. Just saying. If companies are having to purify growth media to pharmaceutical levels, it uses more resources, which then increases global warming potential, said lead author and doctoral graduate Derek Risner, UC Davis Department of Food Science and Technology. If this product continues to be produced using the pharma approach, it's going to be worse for the environment and more expensive than conventional beef production. Are they saying the solution here is that it has to be like industrialized? Industrialized 3D printed meat, even better. Wow, yum yum yum. Next thing you know, just like red dye 40 instead of actual real foods for coloring, we'll be using cricket cells to make 3D printed beef and shit. We will eat the bugs. We will eat the bugs and sleep in the pods. And we will own nothing and we will be happy, right? Scientists define the global warming potential as the carbon dioxide equivalents emitted for each kilogram of meat produced. The study found that the global warming potential of lab-based meat using these purified media is 4 to 25 times greater than the average for retail beef. Yeah. Even as a vegetarian, I can say, I think it'd be better to go the old-fashioned way. Because when you talk about shit like this is like the hidden lore that you get from a side quest in a video game to explain what the crazy, gross, distorted body horror meat monster is that's chasing you for the last 4 chapters. A more climate-friendly burger in the future. One of the goals of the industry is to eventually create lab-grown meat using primarily food-grade ingredients or cultures. And who is it that is determining what's food-grade ingredients? Because right now, in our food supply, you know what's actually considered food-grade ingredients? Bleach, petroleum, coal runoff, what's the other big one? Industrial flame retardant. Because God forbid there be some separation in your Mountain Dew. Lead to a certain degree, even though there really is no safe amount of lead, especially for children, and it's most common to find lead in children's products, like Lunchables. Fluoride is still considered food safe, or water safe specifically, even though, while it's not controlling your mind as conspiracy theorists originally claimed, it does have a negative impact, especially on developing minds. Especially at the amount and the rate we bathe in / consume it. I'm not going to trust American companies, American 3-letter agencies, American government when it comes to determining what ingredients are food safe. I don't think I trust them. Just based on experience. Oh, by the way, the list I just gave you, that's like a couple of almost like anywhere from like 600 to 900 ingredients that have otherwise been banned or extremely regulated or come with warnings across the globe. So when you see like these people talking about food grade ingredients or cultures makes it sound even more questionable. Just keep that in mind, please. Without the use of expensive and energy-intensive pharmaceutical grade ingredients and processes. Under that scenario, researchers found cultured meat is much more environmentally competitive, but with a wide range. Cultured meat's global warming potential could be between 80% lower to 26% above that of conventional beef production, they calculate. While these results are more promising, the leap from pharma to food still represents a significant technical challenge for a system scale-up. Yeah, I may be a libertarian, and generally speaking, I don't like regulation. If there's one area we can be a little stricter than even now, it's fucking food safety. Please. Our findings suggest that cultured meat is not inherently better for the environment than conventional beef. It's not a panacea, said corresponding author Edward Sprang, an associate professor in the Department of Food Science and Technology. It's possible we could reduce its environmental impact in the future, but it will require significant technical advancement to simultaneously increase the performance and decrease the cost of the cell culture media. Oh, great. Even the most efficient beef production systems reviewed in the study outperform cultured meat across all scenarios, both food and pharma. suggesting that investments to advance more climate-friendly beef production may yield greater reduction in emissions more quickly than investments in cultured meat. Developing the technology that would allow the leap from pharma to food is among the goals of UC Davis Cultivated Meat Consortium, a cross-disciplinary group of scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, and educators researching cultivated meat. Other goals are to establish and evaluate cell lines that could be used to grow meat and find ways to create more structure in cultured meat. And this sounds so nightmarish. Risner said even if lab-based meat doesn't result in a more climate-friendly burger, there is still valuable science to be learned from the endeavor. Yeah, real great. Real valuable. It may not lead to environmentally friendly commodity meat, but it could lead to less expensive pharmaceuticals, for example. What? How does 3D printed meat help reduce the cost of pharmaceuticals? My concern would just be scaling this up too quickly and doing something harmful for the environment. My god. What do you think about this? I mean, when I think of issues with our food supply, you heard my main concern: dangerous ingredients, toxic ingredients. Other issues I can think of would be overconsumption. Other issues I can think of would be ridiculous policies about food waste. We protect glyphosate manufacturers. We protect pesticide manufacturers. We protect those people, even though they have a worse impact on the environment. Not just the production of those pesticides, not just how those pesticides can affect pollinators, especially bees. Without bees, you don't have crops. Farmland being bought up by billionaires and foreign companies. Like, there's a ton of foreign-based companies that own American farmland and don't really do anything with it and stifle production. Bill Gates is most notorious for that, but he's not a foreigner. He's one of our own tards. It's like, it's insane. It really is insane. When there's so many obvious glaring problems when it comes to talking about like food safety, food security, food scarcity, all that kind of stuff. But then instead of looking at those areas, we talk about how our resort is, well, let's grow meat in a lab. Let's 3D print chicken. Let's try to make some kind of a nightmarish bodyoid creature that's like a brainless pig body that we grow like a plant, basically. It's so fucking disturbing, some of the ideas that have come out of this. We're gonna hop on over to the Good News Network. I thought this was interesting. Wagatha Christie dog may have resolved a Victorian murder, digging up poison bottle from 160 years ago. Grab your strange hats, Sherlocks. Grab your magnifying glass, Watsons. We're going on a Victorian murder hunt. Let's check this out. Like how that's the only warning yet. Not to be taken.
You will die.
A family's dog may have solved a notorious 160-year-old murder after he dug up a bottle of poison buried in the garden. The Labrador unearthed a blue vial under his lawn in Devon, England, that his owner, Paul Phillips, thought was a pipe, until he saw the words, "Not to be taken," embossed on the glass. The 49-year-old did some digging and discovered a woman named Mary Ann Ashford had lived 2 doors down and killed her husband William in 1865. She put poison in his tea so she could take his money and be with her young lover. Oh man, I think I actually might have heard of this lady, like on a YouTube video. Is it Well I Never? Maybe Ballin. I don't know. I want to say this sounds familiar. Now in the modern-day town of Clisthoniton, he's pretty sure his dog has uncovered the evidence. "My dog Stanley has been digging in the same spot in our garden," Paul told SWNS News Agency. "We kept patching it up and even at one point had to put a paving slab over it, but he was insistent there was something there he wanted. It was a bright blue bottle in perfect mint condition, had the words 'Not to be taken' on the glass." Trust your dogs, man. If there is one thing I've learned from horror movies, it's that you always listen to the dog. In our old house, one of our huskies was absolutely irrationally terrified of a random line in the ground, created by the hardwood. And I'm convinced there was a demon living in that crevice. Alright? You trust your dogs, man. My cat looks up in the corners and just watches the corners of the room, unquestioningly, unblinkingly, for minutes on end. Clearly, it's a sign that there's a ghost lurking there, okay? Now, animals do weird shit all the time, but sometimes they're onto something. I would even dare say that more often than not, they're seeing something, even if it's just like a bug or something. They're seeing, they're hearing, they're sensing something that we aren't. At least like a majority of the time when they act like that. Animal behavior is weird, man. After doing some research, he learned that such bottles were used in the mid-19th century for poisons. Why would you casually sell poison? And then he remembered learning something about a murder and hanging in the village over a century ago. So I went back online and found the old newspaper article about William and Mary Ann Ashford living in Clyst, Honiton. Honiton? I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. She was having an affair with a guy that worked at the local bakery. I think our property used to be a big cider barn. The fact that there was a murder due to poisoning in the next door down from us, you have to put two and two together. True. Paul also learned that his bit of local history became part of a national political question about the death penalty. After tests show that Mary Ashford had traces of arsenic and strychnine on her clothes, the local Victorian killer was sentenced to be executed for the murder by arsenic poisoning of her husband of 20 years. But the hanging almost went wrong. Reportedly, with a crowd of 20,000 people watching, it took Mary minutes to die. Paul said the incident galvanized opinion at the time against public hangings. Paul said the incident galvanized opinion at the time against public hangings, and was key to ending them across the country. I don't know, man. There's a lot of instances I can think of today where a public hanging would be quite deserving. Now you can argue. You can argue amongst yourselves if you think a lady murdering her husband of 20 years because of an affair would fall into the category of slow death by public hanging, as like that warrants it. But I can think of a few crimes that people would commit that would render them deserving of that fate. Just saying. It is fascinating that we have found a bit of history in my garden from a woman that was instrumental in the end of corporal punishment 160 years ago, he beamed. My family and friends are totally engrossed with this story. Since the discovery, Stanley has not been digging in that spot at all anymore. Oh, good on the dog. Good on the dog. I still think corporal punishment is necessary for at least some people. Honestly, people of all sides seem like so split on this corporal punishment topic. It's one of those things where, like, everybody kind of has their own split side, sort of, if that makes sense. Like, there's Christians on the right, for example, that will be like, we can't kill another human, that's unchristian, we're a Christian country, even if they did something horrible. Jesus preached forgiveness, repentance. We can offer that to these people, we don't need to kill them. And then there are the people on the right who will be like, this man murdered 20 people and raped a bunch of women. I think he deserves to die. I'm saying he very much deserved to die. Yeah, and then you have people on the left who are going to be like, it's a violation of human rights to kill people, for our government to kill people, even if they're criminals. And then you have the people on, usually closer to the center, that are more like, well, for the people who, like, really offend, yeah, I would argue that's necessary. And then you have the radicals on the end who will be like, someone like Trump deserves to be publicly executed. And then you have the libertarians where the split comes from basically like, does government deserve to have the power to kill citizens? Could that not be exploited? I get the concern, but at the same time, bro, if the law means we get to seek rapists, not just people accused, mind you, I mean the people we know beyond a shadow of a doubt are guilty. If we can send rapists, if we can send murderers, if we can send PDF files, if we can send them straight to the 9th level of hell where they belong, I would want that law in place. And if we, better yet, if we didn't have like a two-tiered justice system, and we could do that to the satanic elites that appear in the oh my god, better yet. Oh my god. I must be dreaming to think that's even possible. But wouldn't it be nice? A girl can dream. Let the peasant girl have her dream. I remember hearing about MaiD, and I was split. Because on one hand, just like anything, the reason we can't have nice things in a society is because the second you give an inch, there's always going to be a tiny yet extremely vocal and extremely annoying crowd that will want to take it a mile. A similar tiny group on the other side will point to them and be like, this was all a mistake 100%. And then it just becomes a bunch of regards fighting, while people in the middle are just like, oh my god. This is why we can't have nice things. MaiD is one of those things. I totally get if I had a terminal disease and there was no possible way that I was going to survive another 6 months-ish or whatever. Similarly, if I was getting dementia, if I was going to lose my mind or something, I would want to die with dignity still. I get that. It's sad to think about, but I get it. That's just my opinion. I get a lot of people, especially like Christians, are like, this is unforgivable. This is a sin. But I get it. If I was in that position, it's like the hypocritical sort of elite women who would be like, abortion is evil. No woman should ever get an abortion. I couldn't imagine doing that. And then they get knocked up after having some kind of affair, and suddenly they really want abortion or something. I don't know a case where that's happened where it was like a woman, but I've seen a lot of pro-life men who were really eager for their girlfriends or their mistresses to get abortions when it was convenient to them. I'll put my money where my mouth is. If I had an unwanted pregnancy, I'd want to get an abortion. I wouldn't wait 9 months. I wouldn't celebrate it. I wouldn't recommend it to other women. But yeah, I want that access to that service. I'm not gonna speak out the other side of my mouth at ladies and be like, you whores, you shouldn't be getting abortions. It's kind of like a similar thought I had with MaiD. If I was in the position that a lot of MaiD recipients were in, I would want to die with dignity. And I think it would be better to do that in a medicalized environment like that than, the alternative methods of doing that. When your family finds you, and they have to clean up the mess, no. I wouldn't want to do that to my family. But on the other hand, kind of like this is where the libertarian argument of do you really want the government having the power to kill you comes into play. Only we're not talking about criminals here, we're talking about people. We're talking about civilians, we're talking about normal people. How the ways that can be exploited, because every industry has potential to be exploited. And sure enough, here we are. There are already so many fucking insane stories coming out about MaiD systems in the countries that they operate in. Everything from like, this 22-year-old said he was depressed, had a rough breakup. Is that like trying to incentivize or encourage some kind of a mental health outreach, some kind of program, anything to kind of give that person some support? Instead of doing something like that, we're telling them MaiD is an option. There was that other story I believe we covered, I don't remember what video it was, but we covered it, where a woman, a MaiD recipient, tried to rescind her request. Like, first her husband told her, do you want MaiD? You can get MaiD. You should. It could be better. MaiD was kind of hesitant the way it was worded. But then she, sure enough, rescinded. She requested, no, I don't want to die yet. Then the husband signed off anyway. So even though the woman did not want to die, she was killed. Because the husband went through with it. And his excuse, I can't take care of her anymore. I don't want to take care of her anymore. Which I think that's just kind of shitty. Not just, that's extremely shitty to do. That is an extremely shitty thing to do. I get it can be hard to, like, take care of, like, a terminally ill or a spouse with like dementia or a diminished sort of mind. I get that can be difficult. That can be extremely difficult. That can be heartbreaking. At the same time, your solution is to push through with her death, even when she says she wants to live the final years of her life, final months of her life, whatever it may be. That's extremely shitty. All because you're like, I don't want to take care of her. I just don't want to. Till death do us part, bitch. In sickness and in health, bitch. What the fuck, man? That's fucked up. Now, on top of all the weird stuff like that, with this organ supply, there's like an incentive now. And I think that's disturbing. I've seen people saying, like, we need to get onto the level of China with their readily available... You don't want to look into why China has such readily available organs. Trust me. That's what I think of, especially because Canada's simping for China now, apparently. I get America has its issues right now, but you think China's any better? The incentive is... having that incentive now, when we already have stories like that coming out, it's disturbing to me. It's unnerving. It sparks in my mind, there is so much potential for this to go wrong. I don't want to bother reading through this article because it's quite outdated. This is 2023. But I saw talks about this going around on X again that just got circulating. And for some reason, X just has a fascination with getting old stories circulating and pretending like, oh my god, breaking news! It's so fucking annoying. I hate that. If there is news, tell me the news. Don't just rehash old shit. But since this is going around again, I want to take some time to talk about that. This has not gone down much, if at all. This is becoming even more of a market. This is becoming even more of a lucrative sort of industry. And more importantly, this is actually coming to America. So while this in and of itself may not be news, this is. As of March 24th, 2026, this is where Death with Dignity programs are appearing per state. These are the states where death with dignity is legal or being considered in, like, bills and stuff, okay? None of these states have talked about specifically, like, harvesting organs from these practices yet, but they have appeared. And more of them are coming this year, more of them are being considered. So the blue is where death with dignity is currently legal. So as you can see, that's California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois. Shocker, it's all the liberal states, right? Which, like, normally the left is, like, the one talking about, like advocating for better mental health sort of care. And then they're gonna do this shit? Is it because over 70% of self-offing victims are just men? I have to ask. Anyway, New York, status legal. Vermont, status legal. Maine, New Jersey. I'm guessing Rhode Island is in there somewhere. Oh no, never mind. Delaware, that's what I'm looking at. And Hawaii. The red is the states considering death with dignity this year. So bills have been introduced in 2026. This will be determined this year. And those states are Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia. So that's a lot. This is growing fast. And I know that there's a big push for this in Florida for, as you can see, no legislative activity. But I know there's like a death with dignity program in Florida that's like trying to push this through states actively under threat. What does this mean? Oh. Okay, so even though it should be dark red, states actively under threat. The District of Columbia, Illinois, and New Jersey are all trying to revoke these laws, and New Jersey and Washington, I guess, the amendment is still pending, so it's not. It may not technically be It may not technically be legal now, but it will be soon, or probably, most likely. Those are very liberal states, and clearly it is the liberal states that favor these kinds of laws, except Montana. Montana is hard to predict politically. They're usually pretty red, but they do lean blue in some strange, unexpected... I shouldn't say strange. It's just one of those states that's, like, really hard to predict. Kind of like Wisconsin. Montana's, like, in a lot of ways they're red, in a lot of ways they're blue. Kentucky's the same way. Which, by the way, that... I fear for that state. If you saw one of my tweets earlier today, you would know Kentucky has the second highest rate of adult depression in the entire country. Over 16% live in poverty. Over 4% unemployment rate. Average annual salary in the 62,000s per year. Record levels of meth production and addiction. Highest rate of cancer deaths. 7th worst healthcare in the country. This is a beautiful state. I love my state. I'm proud of my state in a lot of ways, but we struggling, man. So that's the update on where Death with Dignity / MaiD is in America. Again, I have not heard anything yet about this in regards to organ usage, how organs will be used from Death with Dignity patients, and who specifically is applicable. I think that's the catch here, is that even in, like, the most radical states here, I think it's only applicable if you have a terminal illness. I don't think it's quite as loosey-goosey as Canada seems to be, I should say, not is, seems to be with theirs, because even though allegedly rules are in place where, like, we only target people with terminal illnesses that are elderly, etc., etc. I've heard enough stories. I think it's worth looking into. Because sometimes stories like that, it turns out it's not just, an anomaly. Sometimes it can be a little glimpse into a bigger issue. I promise that I'll do that for the depressing / serious news. I'm gonna move on to something funny. To close off here, I have 2 more stories, both pretty short. They're gonna be funny. They're gonna be fun and funny. A Finnish pair wins a barrel of ale in the annual wife-carrying contest in England. To have and to hold took a new meaning for about 24 couples who put their relationships to the test on a grassy hill in southern England. Wives and girlfriends clung for dear life as their partners carried them up and down a hillside for the UK wife-carrying race. Who thought of this as a sport? Also, I want to know if there's, like, rules to how you can ride your husband. Oh, I shouldn't have worded it that way, should I? I want to know if there's, like, rules to how you carry her. The way this looks. Imagine being, like, upright on the shoulders, riding him like a horse. Like a fucking racehorse. Oh, man. Oh, man. There are so many dirty jokes to be made here. The awkward foot race in Dorking, Surrey is said to be inspired by a 19th century Finnish legend about a gang that pillages villages and steals the women. You turned that into a festival? Can you imagine the roleplay potential here? Oh my god. Can you imagine seeing this as, like, a tourist? Like, you're just wandering around an English countryside, then you happen to see this shit. Hey, ladies, are you okay? You need help? These days, the emphasis is on lighthearted fun. Silly costumes are encouraged, and racers can be males or females carrying anyone over 18. Some bodybuilder wife shows up and carries her husband across the yard. Oh, you're running. Carrying anyone over 18 and weighing at least 50 kilograms, 110 pounds. Those under that weight need to wear a rucksack filled with flour or water to bring them to the minimum weight. Oh man, that is me. Hey, actually I'm up a bit. 104, man. 5'5", 104. I am finally outside the range of critically underweight in the BMI category. Technically, if your wife went on a diet, would that be considered cheating to this sport? Honey, I think I'm gonna go on a diet. I think I'm getting a little chunky. You can't do that, then they'll think I'm cheating. You do not have to carry— what? Yeah. So you can just casually carry someone else's wife like that? Something tells me that that woman's husband wouldn't like that. I just get the strange feeling. Something tells me this would not be acceptable to do to someone else's wife. Couples can choose their carrying technique, though most contestants favor the traditional Estonian hold, where the wife hangs upside down on the carrier's back, with their legs crossed in front of his face.
Or you can go for the snack pack method here.
Again, can you imagine if these ladies just popped up on the shoulders and start, like horse style? Giddy up, bitch! Contestants raced up a gently sloping hillside and back down, clearing obstacles like low rows of hay bales and having buckets of water thrown at them for good measure. The course is 380 meters, 416 yards long. A long way under the circumstances. Organizers noted. While still niche, the Scandinavian sport has a following. Would you call this a sport? Is this really a sport? Can you imagine this being at the Olympics? I am the #1 wife carrier of Estonia. My wife is the #1 husband rider of Australia or something. The potential here. Is this potential? Or is it just hilarious? This has a following in the United States? Who's doing this? Where? I've never heard of this. Australia, Poland, and other countries. The race in England first started in 2008. Oh my god, what a wild sport. If the prize was actually something interesting, let's say like let's say the prize was like $100, 200 tops, maybe like could be like, I don't know, it's equivalent of a barrel of bourbon. How about like I was gonna say like a little sports car, nothing crazy, just like a V6 Challenger or something. Even that's too much. You get a BMW Isetta. You get an Isetta. You get something like that. Would you actually try this out? Would you actually compete like this? With you or your friend's girlfriend/wife? What would you do? Would you try it? And if you don't have a partner to try this with, don't worry. Crazy Clown Girl will ride you, but I am using a crop. Oh man. Oh man. Hopefully, please don't clip that. Please don't clip that. Okay, this is my last story for the day. It's not really a story, it's more of a little game. I found this on the same site that had the 30 ridiculous arrests, and I thought it could be fun to go through them together. How many of these 15 trick questions can you get right? Alright, you ready? Question: what are 2 things you can never eat for breakfast? By the way, I have not looked at these in advance, so I'm doing these with you. I guess there's a lot of American breakfast items that would not, in any other country's right mind, be considered breakfast items. I had a friend from Ireland who was like, I don't know, I'm gonna guess like some kind of a pastry. Oh, lunch and dinner. Dang, that got me. What is always coming but never arrives? Always coming. Oh, the dirty wife jokes that I made in that last story. They have my mind set in dirty cinder mode. What is always coming but never arrives? I don't know. Did you? Let me know if you got the answer. I'm stumped. Tomorrow. That's tricky. Did we really need a whole picture just to say the word tomorrow? Like, what gets wetter the more it dries? This is a towel. A towel. I've heard that one before. Plus, this kind of makes it obvious. Wet, dry. How do you get this dry? And the thing that you use to dry this becomes... That's easy. That's stupid easy. Stupid easy. That's for babies. Question: what can be broken but never held? What can be broken but never held? Sanity. A promise. Oh. Okay. What word is spelled incorrectly in every single dictionary? Incorrectly? What is it that lives if it is fed and dies if you give it a drink? Oh, that's a trickier one. What is it that lives if fed, but dies if you give it motor skills? Only if it's an alcoholic drink, I guess. I'm gonna check the answer. Fire. That's... Okay, that seems more obvious now. I don't know, let me know if you got it. What never asks a question, but gets answered all the time? Prayer? I don't know. What gets answered all the time? I'd say prayer, but that's bullshit. It's answered all the time. A phone? Answered. ChatGPT? I don't know. No, that'd be you asking it and it answering all. Phone! Hey, I did get it. What word would you use to describe a man who does not have all his fingers on one hand? I'm gonna scroll down for this one. Normal, because people usually have half their fingers on one hand. Yeah, you're not wrong, sir. Just the way that you phrased that, man. What goes up but never comes down? Goes up but never comes down. I'm gonna scroll down. You're 8. Oh. That's another one that seems so obvious when you see the answer. Damn. What can one catch that is not thrown? A cold? A virus? A sickness? Ah! I got it. All the pictures are different sizes, so I keep scrolling down too much and exposing the answer too early. Question. A girl fell off a 50-foot ladder but didn't get hurt. How come? She landed on a pillow? I don't know, man. Oh, that's tricky. It didn't say she fell off the top. That is sneaky. That is sneaky. If you have one, you want to share it. But once you share it, you do not have it. What is it? If you have one, you want to share it. But once you share it, you do not have it. Secret. Ha ha ha! Question. What starts with E and ends with E, but only has one letter in it? It starts with E and ends with E, but only has one letter in it. E. Envelope! Oh! Ah! Yeah! Ah! Alright. That was tricky. That was tricky. You spot a boat full of people, but there isn't a single person on board. How is that possible? It's a couple's cruise? Yeah, everyone on board is married. How do you make the number 1 disappear? Subtract 1? Oh. That's lame. Okay, that's all of them. I hope you had fun with that. Thank you so much for being here and for watching to the end of the video. That helps a ton. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video with anyone you think would be interested, notification bell, any tiny little thing while you are here. Helps a ton, and I deeply appreciate it. Hopefully, I will see you in another video sometime soon. My friends, my spectators, thank you so much for watching, and farewell.